Team GB had a rollercoaster Tokyo Paralympic Games with a huge haul of medals, placing them second only to China. Team GB also competed across the greatest range of sports compared with any other country, showing that Paralympic sport has officially entered the mainstream. What's more, over 56% of British athletes made their Paralympic debut. Team GB also competed across the greatest range of sports compared with any other country, showing that Paralympic sport has officially entered the mainstream. What's more, over 56% of British athletes made their Paralympic debut. One of these athletes was Georgia Wilson, who stepped up at the 11th hour and showed the world what she can do, assisted by Paralympic mainstay Sophie Wells, who had to juggle both training and riding on their gold medal winning journey. We hear the inspirational story behind these two colleagues, teammates and friends. We find out what it really takes to compete at the highest level of the sport, the challenges they overcame and their journey to becoming Paralympic superstars. Well, we are here to talk about the amazing summer that you guys have. I don't know who to start with because it was almost like an unexpectedly amazing summer for you, Georgia. And then Sophie, again, the expectations of the summer were here and then they went here and then they ended up here. So Tokyo, on the cards with Fatal Attraction, didn't happen with Fatal Attraction. Take us through kind of what's just happened in the last 6 months almost. Would I be right in saying that you've gone from severe highs to lowest lows and back to highs again? Is that kind of a way, roller coaster of emotions, I think they call it?
Yeah, massively. I think, you know, you always anticipate challenges in a championship year, Paralympic year, but I think this year definitely topped it. We had, injury issues with Fatal Attraction. In May, we thought there was no chance of him going, and then he was recovering really well from a suspensory issue and everything was scanning well and the rehab was going well. So, like, through the part where we didn't think he was going to go, we were getting Donkara and then Jilt Skusenhoff ready to get qualified, so they were at least backups to go. And then, George was doing really well, so then we thought, oh, maybe he would go, and then just before quarantine, we had to make the decision for him not to go. Donkara had to step up, which was massively throwing him into the deep end because he'd never travelled abroad before. He'd done 2 internationals in this country and that's it.
And Tokyo's just around the corner, right?
I mean, literally, cross your heart and wave him off to go and get on a plane, and like that sort of stuff, scary enough as it is. And you know, he's pretty good with travelling and stuff, but you never know how they're going to come out the other side, and especially because you then don't see them for about 3 days by the time then we get out there. So and I had then no expectation really. You know, I'd gone from the obviously massive disappointment to George not going, where he would have gone in as world champion, expected to win, and then Donnie went, and my expectations were I was really just hoping to get through to the freestyle and stay on, do the test, be on the bit. So it massively, I was so shocked, massively shocked.
And do you think that was hard going out with Donkara? Because actually, with the year we've had with COVID and not seeing you, people just see your name on the team sheet. They don't actually always see that you're not on George Fatal Attraction. They just see you on Donkara. Well, she's going to win. So that expectation, you still wear that on your shoulders. Did you feel that?
Yeah, I mean, I thought I went out with less pressure, but you know, people in the press kept saying that I was favourite, and I was thinking, how am I favourite? Like, this horse has never done anything before. But obviously people expect that of me, and I have a certain expectation of myself that, you know, if I don't pull off a good performance, I would be disappointed in myself. That was a challenge for me.
So London 2012, I remember working at the Paralympics there. It really pushed parasport into the limelight, but also by pushing you guys into the limelight, you're adding pressure on you because people now know who you are, people expect medals, and so the expectations were that you were going out with bronze. Talk us through a little bit like getting that gold medal, and actually could you feel the momentum building when you were out there? Was it like, how did it feel being out there?
We felt there was less expectation because we were all on young horses. None of the international riders' horses, a lot of the judges hadn't seen our horses before. For us to go out and not be under pressure, we actually enjoyed it and it was a bit more relaxing. But then as we started to pick up in the training, then, you know, I think people's confidence started to rise a little bit. And then the first day of competition was obviously the individual, and we all did quite well individually. And then to put that into the team context, actually it was quite positive for the team that maybe if we did the same again, we'd be in quite a good position, and we all needed to seriously pull something out of the bag for it to happen. And then just so proud that like those 3 horses had really pulled out all the stops that we needed.
So again, like Sophie, Midnight was your horse for 2019 for the Europeans. Was that the horse that you were thinking, if I'm going to get to Tokyo, that's the horse I'm going to be taking?
Yeah, Midnight, definitely. I went to the Europeans and she did well there, and I got Zuki as a backup horse after Midnight, but Midnight didn't want to play
No.
this year.
I will be injured instead, thank you very much.
And that was really hard because it was, you know, she came up lame at final selection when we were warming up for the first day of competition. And
at final selection?
Yeah,
She's been chatting to George or something. Have they been having a word with each other? Do you know what, we fancy a holiday this year?
Do you know
Don't
what?
like Tokyo.
It's a bit hot.
Yeah.
So it was like, have a hot chocolate because you've got to get on Zuki in about 10 minutes. I was like, okay.
Yeah, so Midnight was drawn first on the team test day, so I was warming her up and I was like, she doesn't feel right, she doesn't feel right. And then obviously by the time the team come and we make a decision to pull her, and then actually then Suki had to come back down because then she was second on in the team test. So I had to start warming Suki up, and obviously George is obviously quite rightly upset and in a bit of shock. So yeah, I think that was hard, and that was a massive test for Georgia to get her composure and then get focused on what she then needed to do, because still at that point we still didn't think Suki was potentially in that contention, you know, maybe for reserve at that point.
And then so on to Hartbury, and then obviously throwing Suki in the deep end, but got onto the team as a reserve at that point, is that right?
So we didn't know until a few days after Hartbury, but I think I was still a little bit upset about Midnight after Hartbury.
Yeah.
When I was reserve, I was quite pleased. And I could go to quarantine for extra training.
Although at that point, Georgia went, "What? So I can't go to Bishop Burton International?" And I was like, "No, Georgia, you've got to go to quarantine for the Paralympics." She's like, "Oh." Like she wanted to go to Bishop Burton because she didn't think there was any chance of her going to Tokyo.
So then we had also a kind of Carl and Charlotte scenario where you're going as a rider and a trainer with this one here. So taking on that role, was that quite a nerve-wracking role as well?
Yeah, and I guess I didn't have a huge amount of time to prepare for it in my mind. You don't realise at a championship how much more draining it is.
It's the Paralympics, do you know what I mean? There's nothing bigger than that. To be a rider and a trainer, that's a huge accolade. What's she like as a trainer?
Oh.
That wasn't the reaction I was expecting.
Is she going to be kind or is she not?
Where are we going with this? Do you want a second to think about your answer, Georgia?
I enjoyed my training with Soph, and you get that buzz that you just want to go in the next day and get that same feeling. And one thing Soph did do before quarantine, she was like, right, you need to get a smaller saddle because it will make a huge difference. I was like, and then at quarantine, Soph was like, right, I've got the smaller saddle, I'm going to try it. So I was like, yeah, okay, thinking in my mind it wasn't going to make a huge difference to Suki, but yeah, it definitely did.
Wow.
So Soph is always right.
Oh no, don't say that. Don't tell her that, Georgia. We're never going to hear the end of it now.
It wasn't as big a change as maybe Georgia was saying, but it did make a massive difference because it supported Georgia in a better way.
So I've got so many more questions for you guys, and I want to talk about being at the games, coming home, everything. But before that, I've got a gift for you guys.
Okay.
But I'm getting a bit cold, so should we head on inside? And I also want to meet the ponies.
Okay.
Go on then, guys.
Oh, amazing! Oh my God, that's so cool. Horses. Oh. Cake.
How much cake have you guys had?
Way too much cake. A lot of cake.
What's it been like coming back and having all this?
Yeah, it's good for my belly because I'm always hungry.
Not good for my belly.
But yeah, the little village where I live, they did like a homecoming with a hog roast and lots of cake there.
Oh my God.
So that was very good.
She was very excited about that.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It was supposed to be a surprise, but Mum let it slip in Tokyo, and then it wasn't a surprise.
Oh my God, that's so cute. That's so cute. And like, have you had people in the village that you've never met before coming up and being like, she's from our village, I know her, she's my mate?
Yeah, and they speak very Welsh, and I don't know Welsh.
As in actual Welsh, not just with a Welsh accent.
Can you do a Welsh accent?
No, but yeah, it was really good.
That's amazing. Up next, we're going to meet the incredible horses that took on the challenge of Tokyo. We hear more about how the Paralympic disciplines work, and I find out how challenging it really can be to ride with physical limitations. So they're used to you bringing back medals now, but I'm guessing it never gets boring, does it? Also, because it felt like a bit as well.
It's a massive relief, you know, like that's probably the first emotion that you feel, and then it's a bit overwhelming. I did warn Georgia that it would be very different from the Europeans, and the interest would be very different, and that's what's one of the special things about, you know, games, and you're part of Paralympics GB as a whole team as well, not just equestrian team GBR. So.
And you won the first medals for Wales, didn't you? You were the first one to, so you were hitting those headlines. That must have been crazy.
Well, yeah, that's just incredible in itself to win the first medal.
And you were the first British rider in, weren't you?
Yeah, and the last one.
And the last one.
Yeah, so it was
amazing, absolutely amazing. And these medals, am I allowed to touch one? Sorry, I'm just like touching your medals, touching your bronze. They're so weighty.
Yeah.
They're so weighty. That's unbelievable. Obviously, COVID and just we can't not. This is a celebration of you two, but we can't not touch upon it. But how was it being out there? The medal ceremonies. Obviously, there was no crowds. Did it still have an atmosphere? Did it still feel special? And you had to wear masks and stuff in ceremonies. But did it still? It's definitely Paralympics. Everyone's going to remember as well, isn't it?
Exactly. Like, you know, everyone's going to talk about the COVID Games for. Forever,
the COVID Games. I love that.
But yeah, I mean, it was different. By the time we got to the prize givings and medal ceremonies, like, you know, it was so second nature to wear masks all the time. It was really bizarre coming back, actually, not wearing masks, because we literally had to wear them outside, everywhere, all the time. So very different, but there was still a huge atmosphere. There was a massive buzz in the stadium.
Really?
So, I mean, I'm kind of glad that there wasn't a crowd this time for this horse. You know, and we definitely cheered enough to you know, support not having 10,000 people there.
And had you watched Sophie and your other the other team members? Had you watched the Paralympics like London and Rio and things like that? Had you followed and been a supporter in the past?
Yeah,
as well?
so I think the first Paralympic Games I watched was in 2008 when I was on holiday in Spain, and
in Beijing.
Instead of being in the sun, I was inside watching the guys compete.
Was it kind of surreal being out there? Because obviously, and Lee Pearson and Natasha Baker, I mean, Lee's been on the team, I think, since riding began. Have they been an inspiration for you? Sophie been an inspiration for you?
Yeah, and I've been trying for so long, and I've been in the Dressage for years. And I remember going to the London test event to watch the eventing. And yeah, just to be there and on the team with them is something you dream of, and you don't ever think it will become real. So it's now become real.
Not only real, you're jangling.
It's actually happened.
It's actual jangling. It's not even become real. You've got medals round your neck. And I suppose, what was it like? What was the moment where you went, I'm here? Was it getting the kit? Was it riding down that centre line? Was it going into the stadium for the first time? Was there a moment where you kind of got like reality hit you that what you were achieving?
Well, probably business class on the plane.
Business class?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I've never tried business class.
That's pretty cool. But I think we were there for quite a while before competing, so it was good to get training, but I think when it became real was actually when I first went down the centre line and was getting the buzz of the competing again.
Amazing. I just don't know how you do it. To ride down that centre line. Is there anything you guys do to mentally prepare for that? Because it just, in my head, I cannot I can't visualize it. I can't even, like, the nerves would just be too much for me. Like, is there anything you guys do to help with that?
I think for us, you know, by the time you're actually competing,
Yeah.
you're in the zone anyway.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we are in the same arena as that we would be anywhere. You could literally pick those whiteboards up and pop it anywhere, and we're doing the same test, same arena, same judges, on the same horses. So it is, to some extent, you know, exactly the same, but we just have that added thing that it's the Paralympics, and there's probably quite a lot of people watching, and
Just a few, one or two on at home.
there's a lot at stake. But you know, for me anyway, like when I get on, start warming up, that's when I'm like, this is fine. You know,
Once you're on the horse.
this is my job. This is what I do.
Yeah.
What were the lights and stuff like in the arena? Because it looked quite intimidating from
Very
back
bright,
home.
very
Was it?
bright. Yeah, it was brighter than daylight, I think.
You even had lightning.
Yes, I heard about this. So didn't you, like, I'm going to let you tell the story, but wasn't there a story about something you were worried that Lee Pearson was going to get better photos than you or something?
She was warming up for her last competition, and this one goes, oh, that's not fair. Lee's going to get really cool photos with the lightning in the background. And I was like, A, bloody concentrate, and B, it'll still be lightning when you go into your test.
And yeah, it was lightning. It was really good. But I was hoping.
And no one ever, Georgia, no one ever put those in the same sentence.
But that's one thing about Georgia. She's not normal. Like you talk about nerves, and she doesn't get the nerves like the majority of people. Like, you know, she's a real born competitor. She goes in and steps up rather than shies away.
Yeah.
And I think like the more people keep it normal, and I watch my trash TV before I get on.
Or what
She's
you watch.
she's very good.
Oh,
at
it was
TV.
Love Island. I watched. How
Love
many
Love
hours of Love Island did I watch?
She caught up on the whole of Love Island on the first week of Tokyo.
So that's like about 60 hours of TV.
I mean, I'm not quite sure why she's so proud of it, but she is.
With the conversation switching to reality TV, it's probably about time that we meet the real stars of the show, the horses. Georgia, this is the girl of the hour, Suki. She's only 7. She has got quite a funny little face, hasn't she?
Yeah.
Is there a story behind this as well?
Well, the vets think that when she was in her mum's tummy that she had her front feet like here.
Yeah.
And then they made a imprint in her face, so she looks a bit.
Yeah, from the sideways on, I don't know if the cameras can see. She's got a little indent in her face. Makes her more beautiful. And, right, chestnut mare.
Yeah.
Are you insane? What were you thinking?
Well, yeah. I had a chestnut mare before her, and I had to sell her because she didn't really like me. So, but Zuki's never been like that. She's a bit chestnut mare in the stable and kicks the side of the stable if a horse is next to her.
Yeah.
When you're warming her up, if a horse gets too close, she will put her ears back and
Yeah.
not do as it told.
Oh, honey.
But apart from that, she will do anything.
And she is only 7. So was there kind of questions over, because she's so young and taking such a young horse all the way to Tokyo, to the Paralympic Games. I mean that in itself is remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, well, she's had probably the best training and education that she could have from the Aalborg since she was born, really. She'd only done one competition with them, so she hadn't really been out at all. And yeah, I just took her out and she just didn't care.
Just didn't care. Just did not care. And she's just remarkable. Has she got that kind of, because it's it now, isn't it? Para horses have changed so much. 10 years ago at Paralympics, you didn't even ride your own horses, you just rode horses from the venue. But now the horses not only have to have this amazing temperament, they've got to have an amazing quality to them as well. And she kind of ticks all those boxes, doesn't she?
She's 7, so she's not the strongest she could be. And she's getting stronger, so hopefully there's more in the tank and I can keep improving.
And you've got to beat Lee Pearson.
Yeah, that's the next mission.
Because there is that element, you are on a team together, but at the same time, you guys are both grade 2.
Yeah.
So there is that element of actually you want to beat him, don't you?
Yes.
Like, Sir Lee is, but I'm guessing that's Paris, is that where you're looking at next?
Yeah, Paris is definitely where I want to go next, and now I've done one, I get the bug and I just want to do more.
Yeah. And I'm guessing for people watching this who might not know so much about para-dressage and Paralympics, and it could be quite confusing from the outside looking in, because you're a grade 2.
Yeah.
How can you kind of explain how that came about?
So I started at the RDA and I've been doing it for years and years, and a couple of years ago I got downgraded to a grade 2. Para, it's just moved on completely to what it was years ago, so you can go through your RDA to get classified, and then you go for an international classification, and then you can compete abroad and do FAI.
And did you mind going to a grade 2? Was that okay?
No, I cried a lot.
Did you? And what was hard about that? Because obviously it's a completely different type of test, a completely different test that you have to do as a grade 2 to a grade 3.
Yeah.
So why did you not want to?
Well, I was doing quite well in the grade 3, and I got used to getting the movements and what I had to do. So then to be told I had to do a different test, and it was really hard. But you think, oh, it's a walk trot test, but they have to still be powerful, and actually sometimes it's harder to do a walk trot test than it is to do a canter test. So because they always have to be so in front of your legs so they don't switch off halfway through the test.
Absolutely, and there's no hiding in the walk, is there?
No.
You are literally on show for a very long time, and the walk is by far the hardest pace.
Yeah, with my body, the walk, because it's slower and my body wants to do more, so I find the walk the hardest because I have to keep calm and not do much, but I like being quite busy.
People want to know a little bit more about your disability. So what is it? How does it affect your riding, and what is it that how do you compensate? What do you have to do differently to an able-bodied person riding Suki? Is there anything she's had to adapt to you? What's been the changes? She's
quite good with the voice, so she goes off the voice quite well, because if the horse is behind my leg, then I try harder, but then the more I try harder, the more my body does more in different places where it shouldn't, and my hands get really busy and they need to be stiller. So they have to be in front of their leg, but I ride with 2 whips and a commander. They have to get used to a lot of things, and I'm probably not as still as an able-bodied rider. They have to get used to my legs going more back than not like an able-bodied person.
And not going into rein back suddenly.
Yeah, but I think sometimes if a para rider goes and tries a horse, I think some able-bodied people can be more nervous, but I think the para rider knows what they're capable of, and actually they know if they feel safe on a horse. So if I get on a horse and I feel safe, I know I'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And you did with her.
Yeah.
Was there an instant kind of connection with her?
Yeah, and she just was just so easy, and you're very pretty, so that's a bonus.
She is very. She looks great in all the photos, doesn't she? You must have some amazing photos from Tokyo.
Yeah.
And she is having a bit of a strop because next door is your other horse. Tell us a little bit about Jack.
He's a young horse, so I can't compete him until next year.
Yeah.
But he has the most incredible walk and trot and canter, so
amazing.
We took the chance, and now he's letting me ride him, and hopefully I can go out next year and start competing him.
He is absolutely beautiful. As are you, Suki. Look at her. She's in a right grump now. She's got a right face on her. She's raging that we're not talking about her, but she's absolutely amazing. And I think you guys are very suited together, aren't you? The photos are absolutely fantastic from Tokyo. And Paris. Come on, Suki. Game on.
Yes, game on.
Coming up, I'm going to have a sneaky peek at George's training session to see the kinds of things that they work on together and understand a little bit more about their relationship. Here's a hint. There's a lot of banter. So, Soph, The Don.
The Don.
The Don. I feel like I don't know him.
Yeah.
I feel like I've known all your other horses. So he's like wondering what is going on because there's a lot of camera crew here today. So he's a bit like, there's someone taking photos over there. There's cameras over there. I'm just going to wander around.
What's going on?
But this is kind of him, isn't it? Like he kind of lives life on the edge.
A little bit on the edge. So he's quite an anxious character. So you know, for me, trying to get into his mind has been quite the biggest challenge, really, because then once you're in his mind, the work isn't an issue. Like, he's so talented, but he literally, like, if he was a person, he overthinks so much, you know. And even if you say he's good, like you're a good boy, he would question if you're telling the truth.
Am I really a good boy?
Yeah. Are you
really?
sure I've done okay?
Yeah. Oh goodness.
Yeah. He's fab to work with, and he tries so hard. Whereas a lot of horses would be maybe economical and, you know, only do it if you say, please, can you do it? But with Donny, I'm like, calm, let's have less and less and less.
So having to bring him into the team at the 11th hour, how hard is that? How different is he to ride from Fatal Attraction? He's world champion. You've won so many medals on him. 13 now. I mean, I remember coming and seeing you ride him as a 6-year-old, and you were like, he's so special. How differently do you have to get? What mindset do you have to be in to ride him compared to riding George?
So different. So George, like, he's a bit of a diesel engine. He's a bit slower to get going, and you have to switch him on. So it's the completely opposite kind of approach that you would use on both horses. And for George, he's a great championship horse because you can push.
Yeah.
And like you go and get every medal, every point for the medals. Whereas for Don, I had to get used to asking for less to try and get the marks for the medals, which is the completely opposite of what, you know, you want to try harder, don't you?
Yeah.
But I had to try harder in trying less. And even like silly things, like, so I worked with Charlie Unwin last year on like controlling my heart rate, which then controls obviously everything else, because naturally, obviously adrenaline gets your heart rate racing. And like for me, the 10-minute box is almost the most nerve-wracking place because you're about to do something, and that 10-minute box before a championship, that could change quite a lot.
And tell people about the 10-minute box, because there'll be a lot of people watching this. About 10-minute box? What do you mean? You're not about to go eventing.
No.
What's this dressage? What are you about? So what is that 10 minutes? Where does it come to? You warm up? Take us through the process.
There was like in Tokyo, there's 2 warm-up arenas, and then the 10-minute box, which literally was for the 10 minutes before you go into the competition arena. So it's the closest arena to the competition arena, which sometimes gets them a bit more into the atmosphere. But like, there are added challenges, like especially if the rider before you has got a big support team and they cheer a lot, and there's a lot of screaming and everything as you're about to go in almost. But by the team test day, he wasn't keen on the 10-minute box.
I have no wish for this 10 minutes, mother.
But yeah, I mean, it is that kind of, you're about to go into that, what you've worked for so long, and you know, you desperately want to do the best that you can do in that moment. So, and
what is it if you're trying to hold him back? I'm guessing for some horses in that final 10 minutes, it's working on that final piaffe or that final like medium canter or whatever it is that revs them up. What's his last minute prep before he goes into the arena? So just walk and calm down?
I mean, for the team test, I hadn't trotted for about 10 minutes before I went. Like, I trotted down the centre line. That was nerve-wracking.
You're like, can I have a neck strap, please?
Yeah, I mean, like, even like psychologically as a rider, you almost want to just check a few things that you've got, you know, you've got it there, and I just couldn't do that. I mean, for him, we figured that 2 warm-ups was actually better, so the more he does, the more pumped he gets. So for you, you've been to games before?
Yep. And on different horses now. Is it quite hard? Because, I mean, obviously, Pinocchio, Valeris, I mean, these horses, they've just been so good for you, haven't they?
Yeah.
And is it quite hard then to take such an unknown horse in when you've had that comfort blanket of these horses before? And even, I know he's not been to a Games, but Face Attraction, I mean, World Games, and he's been like you are a partnership, they're your mates, you go down that centre line
like
together.
With George, I've got him for 8.5 years, and I've done everything with him. And even Reese, so he went to Rio when he was 14, and I got him when he was 4. So, like, before I'd gone to these championships, I'd had them for such a long time, and I knew them almost inside out. Yeah. Whereas obviously Dawn, I don't, and I think that's a massive challenge of rider skill, like especially in dressage, we don't tend to swap horses around.
No. Yeah, I feel like I just didn't. I was like, who is she taking?
Yeah, but no one else did either, really, apart from us on the team. So, yeah, it's a very different position to be in. But obviously, I'm so lucky to have the support of owners and a team that obviously helped me prepare them and get them in a great shape, that, you know, we went out as prepared as we could be given the circumstances.
And won medals.
It was a huge shock. I mean, I was so emotional coming out of that first test. You know, I'd finished the test and obviously I was like, oh God, like this, the first thing you think is relief. And then I was walking out of the arena and then suddenly it hit me literally like a ton of bricks, that I think everything that we'd gone to get to that point, and
the stress.
There were so many points in which I didn't think we'd make it on any horse or COVID, anything, that actually it was happening. And I didn't know my score or anything, but I just like had this massive, like, burst into tears, but like not just like nice crying. It was like I can't breathe crying.
Ugly crying.
Yeah, it was
ugly
crying. But I came out, and my coach Angela, who I've trained with since 2004, literally was like, what's wrong with you? But I think everything had hit me at that point, you know, it was like massive release.
And what's it like, that moment when you step onto that podium? I always wondered that. What's it like? Is it quite cool?
It's really cool, and I think every time you do it, you've got a different story, it's a different meaning because of what you've gone through to get that specific medal. And obviously it's a build-up, so it's a culmination of all the years, but particularly like that cycle or that, you know, with that horse or whatever, the challenges, you know, it means that. So those little medals, it's not like little, I mean,
they're pretty weighty.
But it's not the 6 minutes in the arena, it's literally, you know,
4 years or 5 years in this case.
Exactly. And it does mean so much. And I was just so proud. And then I got on the podium and then had another cry and went on the TV and had a cry.
Should we, because he's making a lot of noise over there. He's like banging. We've got to go and say hi. To Fatal Attraction. Thanks, Don.
Good boy, Don.
Such a good boy. But we do have to go and see him because I do love him. He's already tried to maul me earlier. So the boy.
Yes.
I mean, he's like your mate, isn't he? He's like, oh. So, I mean, that must have been so hard, that decision, right, I know this isn't right, I'm not going to take him. Did you have to tell people? Did you have to persuade anyone?
No, everybody was very supportive, and my whole support team at home, but also the support team on the British team. Everyone wanted it to be my decision anyway, because like if we were in a position where they were both good, like they wanted it as my decision, which was great. So then I had the support of everybody that, you know, if we made the decision, his owner, Charlotte Hogg, was amazing and has been amazing the whole time since, you know, when we first started looking for him after London.
Yeah.
And, you know, definitely wanted it to be the right decision for everybody and for him in particular. And because it was the right decision for him, in a way it was an easy decision, but obviously it's just the emotion behind it that's hard.
We've got to talk about George. I mean, she is, you've been training her. To be thrown in like that is quite an extraordinary. I know you got thrown in the deep end with him, but you've got that experience that you could kind of draw back on.
Literally like a truckload of experience, whereas with George, they don't make, if you could make a competitor, there's so many ingredients in her that you would choose because she's so ballsy, you know, like I was so emotional after her freestyle because she went, I mean, like in the warm-up I was like, she's feeling really good, I think we need to like really go for this one. And then Georgia literally rode for every stride in that arena, and it's their second championship and it's at the Paralympics, it's the other side of the world, they're on at like 9 o'clock at night, and she's on a 7-year-old horse, and yet she goes in as if she's at Hartbury and she's just nailing it. And you know, not many people can do that.
Did you cry?
Obviously trying to hold it together, but crying. Thank God for masks. I mean, at that point, I'm glad I have masks on.
So you were telling us, so you got on, you warmed Suki up for the freestyle, and then Georgia had to get on. Why do you need to warm Suki up for? Because a lot of people watching this won't have even ever probably seen a para competition. So why are you sat on her horse?
So grade 1s, 2s and 3s are allowed to have an able-bodied or another rider warm their horse up for them for half an hour. It's it's basically so that the horses for them to get on.
And take the edge off them, get them used to it.
Yeah, and then there's a certain amount where some disabilities can't sustain a long period of time on the horse, so like fatigue can impact obviously performance. But like, yeah, I was so proud of her and she did a fab job.
Sophie invited us to watch a training session with Georgia to get a feel for the way they work together to ensure Georgia gets the best out of her horses. We wanted to see the kinds of movements that they cover in the sessions and how they prepare for a grade 2 walk-trot test.
Good.
Wow.
And then a little bit more forward. A little bit more length of stride. Well done. Your sitting's getting better.
Does she have to sit at the games?
No, you can choose rising or sitting in any grade in paras. You want all the things that you want in able-bodied, like you want the engagement, you want the impulsion, the suppleness, the self-carriage. That's it. You let the body get in the right place and then the front end sorts itself out, yeah?
Yeah.
A little bit more forward. That's it, to keep the contact. Good. You know, Georgia's just not got the control over her muscles to be able to have the engagement in her body to keep her hands stable.
So when she was asking for the travert earlier, is that off the legs, off the feet?
Yeah, so it's off the normal aids, but the horses, I would say, have to be more sensitive to it.
Yeah.
But you can see, like, her left leg is much worse than her right leg.
Yeah.
So CP affects her both sides, but more so on the left.
Yeah.
And the whole of her body, whereas sometimes, say, like Izzy Palmer is right-sided, and her left side's normal. Whereas George's, it affects everywhere. Good, good, and then forward. Yeah, keep the engagement, turn your shoulders to the right. Yeah, and remember, your voice is one of your aids, yeah?
Yeah.
Good girl. So George has had a little bit of a habit of turning with her inside rein, and so we've had to work on that a lot, but actually, you know, that's so much better now, isn't it, George?
Yeah.
Well done.
That moment of control is so hard, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's so much detail in it.
Yeah.
You know, that people think, oh God, you're only doing walk and trot, and it's like just circles or whatever. But
There.
you can make it as in depth as you want to. Walking. Yeah. She's not allowed to drop you. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you said you wanted to walk small for the next 10 minutes, you should walk small, not be guessing what's happening next, particularly stopping.
You call it walk small?
Well, for Georgia, yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that term though. In my head, that like is a good. It's like, isn't it? That's what you have to do as a trainer, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and also that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a collected walk, but you don't want it slow, so it's not like slow it down. It's make this walk smaller.
Yeah, I don't like complicated words.
No, Georgia doesn't like complicated words. So she's got to stay active into it. There, she kind of sauntered into the halt.
Yeah.
Yeah, so small walk, but with activity. You're not going slow walk. Right hand. Yeah, good.
Girl.
Walk on.
Walk on.
So what happened there?
She went a bit slow.
Yeah, and she anticipated you stopping. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then she was dropping you before you'd even started actually halting.
Okay.
When it's like right high, just go 1-2 steps forward. Good. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's your correction. 1-2 in front.
Okay.
Keep her in the small walk, otherwise she then gets away from you. Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
She
no.
doesn't like it because you're telling her what to do.
So go from halt from this.
Yeah. Left. Yeah. Good. Super.
That was good.
Yeah.
Girl.
Good.
Girl.
But that's.
Was that what happened in Tokyo?
But that's what you've got to be able to do, yeah, is control and keep her in front of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and don't correct her by making her run off in the walk, because then she is running away from the correction.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to correct her within it. Okay, now from trot.
Yeah.
Change diagonal.
At least I got them in Tokyo. I mean,
At least I got them in Tokyo. How'd you get them in Tokyo? You make them habit.
yeah.
Where do you have to have the habit? At home.
So
Good habit or bad habit?
Good habit.
Exactly. So let's come down again, prepare it properly, A down the centre line, X hops loop.
For a little trip around the arena first.
Yeah. That's all she ever does, she just smiles. I can hurl abuse at her and she's literally just grinning. She just thinks
Making my face hurt,
Yeah.
laughing at it.
But you can't not smile when you see her though. Super. Well
Go.
done.
Trot.
Good. Okay, cross diagonal medium.
Make her angry.
Hop, hop, hop. Keep it. You're gonna go on the long diagonal, you've got to keep it. Yes, well done, George. And collect. Good. Balance for the corner. Bend through the corners. Keep control over that right hind leg. Super. Done enough.
Good girl. Ready for next week.
Ready for action.
Good girl.
Walk her off.
Yeah, thanks, Soph.
No worries, good.
While she's on a horse, so she can't get to you, what's she actually like as a trainer?
She's one of those where I couldn't do it without her. She's just got that so much knowledge, and because she's in the para world and
Yeah.
been there and done it, that she's got little things which other trainers wouldn't say. And I think it's just that partnership of, yeah, whatever she says, I know it will be the right thing, and that's a nice thing to.
Yeah, that confidence in what she's
Yeah.
saying. And I think also it's important, you came through the route which was the RDA,
Yeah.
a big smile on your face there. And does it mean a lot to you that you came through the RDA and that?
Yeah, and like they've helped me. I used to go to the RDA Nationals every year.
Yeah.
They just supported you, and the RDA that I had has a canter track and a mechanical horse.
Yeah,
And
wow.
I used to do it for physio. It's just incredible what they do, and yeah, just all the different types of people that go,
Yeah.
and yeah, it just gives people loads of opportunities.
And there'll be so many riders who competed at this year's virtual RDA National Championships who will have seen what you did at Tokyo and be like, oh, maybe that's something I can do. People with cerebral palsy who
Yeah.
maybe thought, I didn't even know you could ride with cerebral palsy. Do you like that thought that people?
Yeah.
Does that register that you are an inspiration now to others?
No, it doesn't register. But it's like when I was in Tokyo, someone messaged me around locally to me and said, oh, like my two daughters have watched you, and like they had a disability. Can't remember what it was, but yeah, like hearing that I've inspired them.
That's really
Yeah.
lovely.
Just crazy.
This pony's got a canter, hasn't it?
It has got a very big canter.
She's an incredible rider, isn't she, Sophie?
She is. Yeah, I watched her at the Nationals last week. She did, yeah.
Did she come last?
Coming from Tokyo to last. I mean, we did have a giggle. But I think it was a really good show, and the atmosphere, and it was good to get, because I have a 5-year-old, so it's nice to get them out to do the Nationals.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you chatted out?
We're talking about how wonderful you are.
I doubt that very much.
We did take the mick out of how riding such a sport that when you have to ride 5-year-olds, you can go from Olympic glory, Paralympic
To the
glory,
last.
to
come in
novice
last.
at the Nationals.
Yep. I did it. I did it with style, and I did it really well. Yeah, but did she say that that's only because her horse didn't finish?
Yeah. Yeah.
You have come last.
My horse got retired.
Right back at you.
Yeah, there you go.
That's amazing. So actually, you would have come last had you
Yeah.
completed.
Yeah. Well, I
No, she failed to mention that, Sophie.
Exactly. Excuse
Failed
me.
to mention that.
As we all know, horse sport can be challenging enough without any physical limitations. So I wanted to find out a bit more how Paralympic dressage riders are able to modify their riding style to get the best from their horses. I'll never be able to fully understand what life is like with a disability, but Sophie thinks she has a way to give me a bit of an insight.
He's a big boy, isn't he?
He's huge, I know. It's normally the first thing everybody says about him.
He's probably wondering where the hell these legs have come from.
I know.
I don't know what I'm more scared about, riding in front of cameras or you shouting at me.
I think you should be scared of both.
Now I've got you in my ear as well. This is more terrifying. The boy.
Okay?
Yeah.
How do you feel up there?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
He's lovely.
Yeah.
He's really nice.
Drop down through the back of your leg, then you don't want to rise through your knees, just rise through your hips. That's it. When you're ready, walk, and let's have a look at your reins.
Oh.
So I've got one finger on each hand that I can hold my reins with,
Yeah.
so that's all you're allowed. But I will let you choose which finger. I can't obviously choose.
Can I use two?
No? Can I use two? No.
I'm an inventor. Oh my God. This is, this is a different kettle of fish. But in a way, it's making me work harder with my legs and my core.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's hard because you don't have the same softening feel on the rein.
Yeah, you can't use these to kind of play.
No, so you've got to kind of don't think hang on for dear life, because then they've got a very hard contact.
Yeah.
You want to
yeah.
carry your hands and just be able to give and retake and have them in self-carriage.
I can feel that already. Already I've gone weightier in the rein.
Yeah.
Whereas, that's hard. Riding off one finger.
And trot transition, inside leg to trot, so you keep him forward to the trot, feel, let go, that's it. And let him find his own balance, so let go of the rein slightly and just say, you carry yourself.
Yeah.
That's it, you can't pull him back up, you've got to ride him back up. Go on, that's it, and you start to get a posh trot, there we go. Good boy.
Good boy.
Good, yeah, super. You're doing a great job actually.
Good boy. My fingers. Good boy. It's been so long since I've ridden anything other than my horse.
And he is massive.
He is a giant.
And I'm making you ride with one finger, which will be very alien.
I
to
quite
you.
like a challenge.
Well done. So like in our test, we've got to go extended walk to R, and then collected walk, and then canter at M.
Yeah, I would not have got a gold medal. Thank you so much.
Very welcome.
That was really fun.
Ladies, thank you so much for letting me come and have a nosy round the yard and meet your amazing horses. And I'm not sure I'm going to be thanking you tomorrow, Soph.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the lesson. Slightly sore. It's been a while since
You did a great job. How did you find it?
Just how restricted you are by your reins. Just those slight adjustments you take for granted as a rider. I think you almost adapt, don't you? Use all your fingers if one bit's a bit tired and the pressure's even. Whereas you obviously are riding off just one finger.
Yeah.
I always thought you were incredible. Now you've just skyrocketed into awesomeness for me, because how even and balanced he is. Even at 7, such a testament to how you have to ride, but how you do ride.
The loops for me, they enable me to ride, because I can't hold the reins any other way, or at least take much pressure for very long. So sometimes it is frustrating, but I think, you know, for us, they do enable us, but I wouldn't choose to have them if I had fingers, if that makes sense.
If you had a choice.
Yeah.
But so I didn't even get to the next loop.
Yeah.
I was like, how do you guys ride on that loop? Like, I was like, oh, my legs are not strong enough to go there. Looking at these medals, does it mean that little bit more, do you think? And what advice would you give to anyone who's thinking, no, I can't ride? No, I've got cerebral palsy, that's not something that I can do. What advice would you say to those guys who might be thinking this, actually, I'm feeling a bit inspired by these two?
Well, I might be mad, but yeah, just get on and try anything you really fancy, and give it a go.
Yeah. I think if you enjoy it, you've got to enjoy it. Like anyone with horses has to work so hard, and it's never plain sailing. The long days are never easy. You've got to have probably 500 times as many lows as you're going to have highs, but the highs somehow make it worth it. And I think we're so fortunate that we love our jobs, we love working with the horses. If you have that passion, you've got to be dedicated with it, but then it gives you that motivation, that get ups every day to keep going. So I think sometimes, you know, riding is quite an isolating sport because you're not in a team per se. It's a team sport in terms of we need so many people to enable us to do it, but you feel sometimes quite isolated when you're riding at home every day on your own. But yeah, you're definitely not on your own in terms of it happening to everybody, and you know, there's lots of people out there that can empathise and support in that as well.
What's the biggest thing you've learned from Sophie, would you say?
To definitely do your centre lines first, because if you have a bad centre line, it's not good.
You want to be starting on 90%,
Yeah.
not on 40%.
Yeah, but just, definitely get some points in your head at home so you can go in and focus on those points, and then that's what helps me.
Yeah, and I think like you're thinking about the process as you're riding rather than what the judges are scoring or anything like that.
Because otherwise I go around like I'm on a motorbike.
Yeah.
She loves to go fast.
Yeah.
I know, I've noticed that about you, and you never stop smiling. Like, you're always just enjoying it. Do you manage to keep that energy during the test?
Probably more of a concentration face, which is very ugly, I can imagine.
Definitely not.
But I don't know. Yeah, definitely a serious face when I'm.
Yeah, I mean, she's so focused when she goes in, and you know, she's literally in there to do her job.
And on a final note, social media. David Beckham liked her post. David Beckham.
He just needs to follow me now.
Yes. So you put up a post, and what happened? Didn't you screen grab it or something?
I screenshot it and sent it to Sophie.
And I did check it and verify.
It was the actual David Beckham.
Yeah.
But what's so lovely, like Georgia has come from a place where, you know, you're not mad on social media, are you? Like, you're in a little village in Wales and we're in Tokyo, and she's like, Soph, I've got 400 followers on Instagram now. And, you know, like, that's so humbling, and like seeing the games out of her eyes as a first timer, like actually, it brings it back a little bit, because you do take it for granted when you've seen it a little bit before. It's still amazing, but it was so lovely to see it through Georgia's eyes as well.
Well, I have a feeling we're all going to be seeing a lot more games, especially with this one training you. I mean, you are a force to be reckoned with. It's so nice, and it's so nice to see the relationship you guys have. I said to her, it's like, trainer, is she also your mate? And she said yes.
I was nice.
This time. But then she knew she had another less session with you, so I think she had to be. But it's so lovely, and you're an inspiration to just young women out there, that hard work and dedication gets things like these, but also just gets, I mean, you're just such fantastic riders. It's so amazing to watch, and I hope my daughter grows up to be as wonderful and just lovely as you two. Thank you so much. I'm not going to be able to walk tomorrow. Literally not going to be able to walk. But thank you so much, and roll on Paris. That's all I can say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.